There's a reason the words Pogo oscillations still make veteran propulsion engineers uncomfortable. It's one of those deceptively simple phenomena that has taken down some of the most powerful launch vehicles ever built, from early Saturn V flights to certain Shuttle and Delta IV missions. And yet, when you look at SpaceX Starship and its Raptor engines, specifically the full-flow staged combustion cycle, you start to see something remarkable. Not just raw power, not just 300 to 350 bar chamber pressure, but a propulsion architecture that significantly reduces Pogo susceptibility, making suppression far more manageable than in almost any previous large rocket engine. This isn't marketing language. This is fluid dynamics, structural coupling, and cycle architecture working together in a way that changes the game. Before we go deep into Raptor, let's define exactly what Pogo is, because it's often misunderstood even by space enthusiasts. Pogo is a longitudinal oscillation instability. The entire rocket, propellant tanks, feed lines, turbopumps, thrust structure, and vehicle body acts like one giant coupled spring mass system. You have the massive propellant mass providing inertia, you have the structural elasticity of the vehicle acting as the spring, and you have the engines producing thrust that closes the feedback loop. Here's how the deadly cycle works in practice. A small increase in thrust accelerates the vehicle upward. That acceleration momentarily reduces the hydrostatic pressure at the bottom of the propellant tanks. That pressure drop races down the feed lines as a rarefaction wave. It reaches the turbopump inlets, slightly altering the flow rate. The chamber pressure changes. Thrust changes again. If the phase relationship is just right or just wrong, each cycle amplifies the next. The rocket literally bounces up and down like a child's pogo stick, sometimes at 10 to 30 hertz, sometimes violently enough to tear apart propellant lines or shake astronauts senseless. This wasn't theoretical. During the Apollo program, early Saturn V flights suffered severe pogo. On Apollo 6, the second stage shook so badly that astronauts on later missions would have been injured. NASA solved it the old-fashioned way. They added helium-filled accumulators, giant shock absorbers, in the LOX feed lines to damp the pressure waves. The space shuttle also required pogo suppression devices. Even modern rockets like Falcon 9 use a combination of accumulators, tuned feedline geometry, and active throttling to stay out of trouble. Pogo is fundamentally a coupling problem between propulsion dynamics and vehicle structural dynamics. Solve one side, and the other can still bite you. Now enter SpaceX and the Raptor engine.
Raptor is not a gas generator cycle like Merlin. It's not even a partial staged combustion engine like the RS-25. It is a full-flow staged combustion engine, the first of its kind ever to fly at this scale. Every kilogram of methane goes through a fuel-rich preburner. Every kilogram of oxygen goes through an oxidizer-rich preburner. Both streams are turned into high-pressure, high-temperature gas before they ever reach the main combustion chamber. Both turbopumps operate at enormous power levels, and by the time the propellants mix and burn, they are already fully gaseous. That single architectural choice changes everything for Pogo behavior. Let's break down why, point by point. First, gaseous propellants downstream of the turbopumps. In traditional engines, long columns of dense liquid oxygen and fuel sit between the tank outlets and the chamber. These liquid slugs have huge inertia. When a pressure wave hits them, they accelerate and decelerate like a freight train, storing and releasing enormous oscillatory energy. In Raptor, the liquid columns end at the preburners. After that, you're dealing with compressible hot gas. Compressibility acts like a soft spring rather than a rigid mass. The effective length of the dangerous liquid column is dramatically shortened. That alone cuts the stored oscillatory energy in the critical feedback path. Second, ultra-high chamber pressure. Raptor 2 runs at roughly 300 bar, Raptor 3 pushes toward 350 bar. At those pressures, a 2-bar fluctuation is less than 1% of operating pressure. Compare that to the Saturn V's F1 at roughly 70 bar. The same 2-bar wiggle is almost 3%. The relative change in thrust is much smaller, so the gain of the feedback loop drops sharply. Smaller gain means oscillations grow far more slowly or die out before they become dangerous. Third, generous cavitation margins. Pogo loves cavitation. When inlet pressure drops even briefly, vapor bubbles form in the pump, collapse violently, and send pressure spikes upstream. Raptor's full-flow design gives the turbopumps enormous turbine power, allowing very high pump outlet pressures while keeping inlet pressures comfortably above cavitation thresholds. Net positive suction head margins are excellent compared with older engines. Fewer bubbles, fewer spikes, less amplification. Fourth, methane's physical properties. Liquid methane is only about 420 kilograms per meter cubed at operating temperature, roughly half the density of RP1 kerosene. Lower density means lower mass per meter of feed line. Less mass equals less inertial energy stored in the oscillating column. Pair that with liquid oxygen, which every engine uses, and the overall system inertia drops noticeably compared with kerosene-fueled vehicles. Fifth, autogenous pressurization. Older rockets used helium to keep tank pressures stable, a passive system. Starship uses gaseous methane and oxygen bled from the engines themselves to pressurize the tanks. This creates a closed-loop dynamic pressure environment that responds in real time to flow demands. When a pressure wave tries to propagate, the autogenous system can actively counteract it. It's like having a smart shock absorber built into the propellant tanks. Sixth, turbomachinery inertia as a mechanical flywheel. The pre-burner turbines and punks are massive rotating assemblies spinning at tens of thousands of RPM. Their rotational inertia resists sudden speed changes. A pressure transient has to fight through all that spinning metal before it can affect chamber flow. The result is natural low-pass filtering. Rapid oscillations get smoothed out mechanically before they ever reach the main chamber. Seventh, the closed energy loop. In a gas generator engine, pre-burner exhaust is dumped overboard. Chamber pressure changes can reflect straight back upstream.
In full flow, everything feeds the main chamber. Energy stays inside the system, creating a more balanced pressure equilibrium and greater overall damping. Eighth, modern digital control at kilohertz speeds. Raptor carries high-frequency pressure sensors, flow meters, and turbopump speed sensors sampling in the tens of kilohertz. The engine controller can adjust pre-burner mixture ratios or throttle settings in milliseconds. If an oscillation starts to build, the software can detune the system, shift the thrust profile, change pump speeds, or tweak valve timing before the human eye even notices a wiggle. Apollo-era rockets had almost no active control bandwidth. Today, we do. Ninth, 33 engine clustering on Super Heavy. 33 independent thrust sources mounted to one massive thrust structure. If one engine experiences a tiny thrust oscillation, the energy is distributed across a vehicle whose longitudinal natural frequency is much lower than slender historical rockets. The sheer mass and stiffness of the system make it harder for any single engine perturbation to couple with the vehicle mode. Taken together, these features don't eliminate Pogo, nothing does, but they shrink the problem space dramatically. Much of the suppression that once required heavy hardware add-ons is now intrinsic to the cycle. Of course, Starship is not immune. In early 2025, during Flights 7 and 8 of the V2 vehicles, the upper stage experienced harmonic longitudinal oscillations, widely analyzed in the community as Pogo or Pogo-like behavior. Propellant leaks, pressure spikes, and eventual loss of control occurred during ascent. The oscillations were stronger in flight than ground tests predicted, exactly as they were on early Saturn V flights. SpaceX responded the way they always do, rapid iteration. They adjusted thrust profiles, changed engine operating modes, possibly added or tuned damping elements, and shifted resonance bands outside critical mass ranges. By Flight 10 in August 2025, the issue appears to have been brought under control. This is the real story. Full-flow staged combustion doesn't magically erase 63 years of Pogo history. What it does is give engineers far more tools and far more margin to fight it. High pressure margins, gaseous flow, active digital control, and integrated pressurization turn a historically show-stopping problem into a tunable engineering parameter rather than a mission killer.
Now let's talk about the vehicle itself. Starship and Super Heavy use stainless steel tanks with different elastic properties than the aluminum lithium used in Saturn V or Falcon 9. Stainless steel's stiffness profile shifts the vehicle's natural longitudinal frequency. When that frequency sits comfortably away from the dominant propulsion oscillation bands, coupling becomes much harder. The long downcomers and transfer tubes inside the tanks are also carefully routed and stiffened to avoid acting as organ pipes for pressure waves. SpaceX's massive CFD simulations and structural models run on thousands of cores, let them predict resonance modes before metal is ever cut. They instrument every engine with high-speed sensors and can watch pressure waves propagate in real time during static fires. That data feeds back into the next vehicle iteration within weeks, not years. There's another subtle advantage most people miss. Because Raptor runs both preburners at extreme mixture ratios, the combustion process itself has inherent damping. Pressure perturbations must travel through the turbines before reaching the main chamber. That extra propagation delay and energy dissipation further reduces the chance of constructive interference. So when people ask why Starship's 33 Raptors haven't torn the vehicle apart despite unprecedented clustering and chamber pressures, the answer isn't luck.
It's architecture plus relentless iteration. Here's where it gets really interesting for the future. As Starship evolves toward Block 3 and beyond, higher chamber pressures, longer vehicles, more propellant mass, deeper throttling for landing, the resonance frequencies will shift again. What works today at 300 bar may need retuning at 380 bar. The full flow cycle gives SpaceX headroom. They can raise pressures further while still keeping relative fluctuations tiny. They can add variable frequency digital dampers if needed. They can even use the engines themselves as active vibration cancellation devices by micro-throttling opposing engines in a 33-engine array. That scalability is the hidden superpower. Pogo nearly derailed the most powerful rocket of the 20th century. Today, a new engine cycle, combined with modern sensors, computing, and rapid testing, may have quietly turned that entire class of instability into a solved engineering problem for the reusable era. Think about what that means operationally. Fewer heavy accumulators, lighter feed systems, faster design iterations, higher confidence at higher thrust levels. All of that accelerates the march toward daily Starship flights, orbital refueling, and eventual Mars missions. The next time you watch Super Heavy light all 33 Raptors and the stack rises with that characteristic crackling roar, remember, inside that seemingly chaotic firestorm is an exquisitely balanced system of pressures, flows, and control loops, a system that was deliberately engineered so the rocket doesn't bounce like a pogo stick, even when 33 engines are fighting gravity together. That's the beauty of modern propulsion. The forces you don't see, the ones that used to destroy rockets, are now being tamed by clever cycle design and relentless data-driven iteration. If you enjoyed this deep dive connecting 1960s lessons to 2026 flight hardware, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Next time, we're going to examine how the exact geometry and spacing of those 33 Raptors affects acoustic and thrust coupling across the booster, and why a few centimeters of separation can be the difference between smooth flight and resonance hell. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think full-flow staged combustion is the ultimate pogo killer, or will scaling to even higher pressures always require new tricks? Let me know, because in rocketry, the unseen forces are often the ones that decide whether you reach orbit or become a very expensive firework. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one, where the physics gets even wilder.